Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel for another installment of our new figure showcase series. And I do have to say, it does feel like things are starting to open up a little bit with new releases incoming pretty frequently at this point. So that's definitely a big plus. Now, I'm really excited for today because we'll be looking at the 6-scale version of Captain America from Falcon and the Winter Soldier by Hot Toys. And with the exception of the Scarlet Witch from WandaVision, this was my oldest pre-order to date, so it's great to finally have him in hand. So before jumping into the figure, I have to tell you all that I really loved this show. I loved Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I know there's been a lot of criticism of Marvel and the MCU in general, and in particular the Disney Plus shows, but I feel like that original trio of releases consisting of WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and Loki were actually really great additions to that entire mythos that we have going. But going back to Falcon, I thought the journey to see Sam become Captain America was really well done, and while I did think the villains of the story weren't the best, I think we got some great characters introduced, especially John Walker. And then talk about some great moments with John Walker bloodying up the shield in that moment of rage, and of course the actual moment where we see the full reveal of Sam in his Captain America suit. And then you have the threads that were left open, including the big Shannon Carter reveal. Overall, I liked that the tone was more in line with Captain America the Winter Soldier, with a much more serious feel to it, which is something that hopefully the upcoming Secret Invasion series embraces. The other thing I really loved about the suit, it is so close to what we saw in the comics. I mean, it's like they took it right from the pages, and that is something I like about Marvel. As they've been progressing through the MCU, it feels like they're at least becoming more confident in embracing the comic styles. Although, don't get me wrong, the suit definitely still fits in well with what we've seen already established in the MCU. Now, let's look at the figure, and as we normally do, we'll start with the overall shot, and clearly what stands out here for this package are those wings. I mean, they are just enormous, and they really are the standouts of the accessories. Then you get his new shield, a series of hands, the updated Red Wing with his new Captain America paint scheme, as well as some pieces to allow you to connect both the shield and the wings to Cap. Then you do get a stand with a flexible flight pole, as well as one for Red Wing. But I do feel like the stand itself might just be a little undersized. I mean, for comparison's sake, the base that came with the original Sam Wilson Falcon was massive. But let's look closer at the accessories, and we'll start off with those wings. They're gorgeous. There's not much more I can say here. I love the color choice here, very much keeping with that Captain America theme, and I love that the paint app has this metallic sheen to it. It makes the wings feel like they're metal, although for weight purposes, these are plastic. The only thing I'm a little iffy about, or maybe slightly concerned about, are the joints. Hot Toys was able to engineer these to move substantially, but the joints are all plastic, and even though they're ratcheted, I just worry about longevity. This is one where I'm just going to force myself to keep an eye on these to avoid any breaks. But when we pose them up, I'll try to articulate these wings as much as I'm comfortable with, just to see what they're capable of doing. And for scale, you can see that once you lay the 12-inch Sam Wilson cap in front of them, they're almost double his height. So they are large pieces here, way larger than his Falcon wings. Next up, you get a shield, and this one is plastic. It's done well. Nothing new here with just having a more matte finish on the surface and nice detailing around the star and the joints in the shield itself. Is it bad that it's not die cast? I mean, it still looks good, but I do think the die cast adds a little something extra. Did they do plastic for weight reasons? I'm not sure. The figure's joints are pretty good, and they do feel like they can hold their poses well, so I'm not sure I would be completely concerned about that. Now, the back of the shield has more nice detailing, showing the rivets holding the straps to the shield itself, and some nice detailing on those brown straps as well. Now, these are plastic, so no worries about any kind of pleather issues, and you can detach the main straps from the shield to allow you to position the hands around them, or to place the shield on the figure's back, but more on that later. Next, you get you get his bird, and he looks good. I think Red Wing, it's a pretty accurate recreation of what we saw on screen, and the paintwork is phenomenal for a smaller piece. And I do appreciate that even in the rear of the piece, they did a great job detailing his engine port. Not sure this is something that's going to get much use, but it's nice to get it. And finally, you get these pieces for connecting the shield and the wings to the figure. Now, the wing connector is plastic, and while the paintwork isn't great, based on the instructions, most of it will be covered, so it shouldn't be an eyesore. I do again wish this had been maybe a stronger material. Ball joints don't feel flimsy at all, so hopefully they'll fare well under the stress from the wings. And then the shield connector is a clear plastic tab, so that might be okay. Just to avoid some of the older, more unsightly clips that used to come with the other versions of Cap. And finally, he comes with a number of hands to swap out and pose him up with, including some gesturing hands and some fists. And the paint app and detailing here continues to impress, as Hot Toys often does. I like the paintwork with the white, gray, and red, and the detail on the fingers too, with the nails standing out. Everything here is, again, top-notch, so great work by Hot Toys on this package. So now let's get into the figure itself, and we'll start with the sculpt. I personally feel that Hot Toys has always delivered a great Anthony Mackie sculpt. It's one they've got down, and this Captain America Sam Wilson sculpt is no different. It's clearly Anthony Mackie under the goggles. Paintwork on the skin and the detailing, including some freckling, just top notch. Work on his hair and his mustache and beard, also great. They're very nicely painted and detailed. And then you throw in the goggles, and I guess the side piece that runs down to his neck, and everything's amazing. Those goggles in particular really look great. I love that you can clearly see his eyes underneath, and it's very unique when you compare him to his Falcon suits. So great recreation here, and honestly a top sculpt from Hot Toys with very little to complain about. Now, as for the rest of the figure, I love the look. This version of Captain America is straight from the comics and looks phenomenal. Steve Rogers had suit versions that were always darker blue, and this one immediately stands out with those pops of white. So it feels like, to me at least, a nice evolution of the suits, similar to how it felt in the comics. Here I love the work Hot Toys did on the chest with the silver star and the silver band stretching out on either side. It almost reminds me of the US Air Force logo, which goes with Sam Wilson. The rest of the suit with the red stripes on the abdomen looks great, and there's a nice panel work detail there, so it's not just straight fabric. There's definitely a lot of hidden detail here that you can really like, and even his arms have these light gray stripes that just add a little something extra. Like I said, comic accurate, but still retaining that MCU style that I personally like, although I know some fans sometimes think it can be a little busy. Pants look great with the knee pads, and unlike Steve, his boots are a nice metal material, since they are part of the controls for his jetpacks as opposed to just standard combat boots. So it's overall a great looking figure. On the sides, I love the shoulder guards with the Captain America star and the nice white textured armor. It just stands out, and it does feel like it gives a little more protection, given that he's flying around and he's not enhanced by the super serum. Just looking at this figure, I not only have to give credit to Hot Toys for making this look this good, but also to the Marvel costume designers, because they really delivered a great looking suit here. I'm curious what modifications they're going to give us for the upcoming Cap movie, because this looks almost perfect to me. Now his back also looks amazing with the metallic pack that houses the wings. Now this is where you have to suspend your disbelief a little bit, because we're supposed to believe that his wings are completely housed in this, and they're massive. Although given this is Wakandan technology, I wouldn't be surprised if it's some kind of nanotech. So maybe a pass there, but the pack looks great and just fits in with the rest of the figure. So I obviously tried to pose him up using everything included, including getting his shield on his back. This is probably my only negative here with the figure. So like I mentioned, with the shield, you have to remove the arm strap so that the shield can rest flush with his pack. Next, you have to slide this clear tab on the shield, and then slide that tab onto the pack. So first thing, getting that tab into the slot is a little hard, and I'm pretty sure that's a break waiting to happen. It just feels like the tab might be too wide for the slot. Second, these clips that remain can't be folded down flat, so you still have them essentially projecting straight out towards the backpack, and they do create some trouble in getting the shield to rest on the pack correctly, or even the tab to slide in the right way. Once you get everything on, he looks pretty good, and I do like the way the shield looks on his back, so that was, to me, the most frustrating part of setting him up. Besides that though, getting him to hold the shield and pose with it is pretty straightforward. And if you don't have the space to display him with the wings, he still looks incredible. He really does. Only thing I will say, he does have double jointed elbows that let him bend beyond the 90 degrees. But the suit does feel a little restrictive. So I think we're a little plagued by some of the issues we've had with some of the previous Caps. You can still pose him nicely, but I don't imagine that you're going to get him doing a high kick or anything like that. I also did pose him next to the Steve Rogers Cap. Now this is the Age of Ultron Cap, and just seeing the two together, it feels like such an intriguing legacy. And I'm glad we at least got the Toys era version of John Walker, so that you could see the three Caps together. Look at how good both of these look though. I feel like the costume designers purposely gave John Walker that goofy looking helmet to almost make you feel like he didn't belong in the suit. But let's be honest, to me the appeal for this figure besides the fact that I like the character, of course, are those wings with that fully deployed look. And he looks incredible. And I would still recommend a stand. I feel like you don't want him tipping over since you'll risk breaking the wings or taking other figures down with you. But as a plus, he can't stand without it if you're daring. I did that for some of the poses just to see how stable he could be, and I thought the results were impressive. But just the size of this guy is crazy to me. The other thing I noticed with the light on is that the wings do seem to take on a different hue and don't look pure silver. I don't think this is purely dependent. I think this might be purely dependent on the lighting, but I do like it. It feels almost like airplane wings with some of the discoloration or the way the light gets reflected. Not sure if Hot Toys did this on purpose, but it does look great. Now, posability of the wings, they can move. I mean, they really can move together to close around him, and the ball joints on the back do let you pivot these nicely to get a full range of looks. The engineering here is again top notch, and it's not at all like that first Falcon figure where wing articulation was severely limited. You can have a lot of fun moving these around, and I think you just need to be a little patient to get them to look right. I tried, and look, these are straight out of the box, me trying to pose them up. But obviously, as I try to find a final home for him in the display, I'll play around with the wings a little bit more to get them just right. But he looks phenomenal, and even in a flight pose, he really stands out, but he does take up a lot of space. Those wings, though, again, I just can't get over how massive they are. And if you want to get them looking dynamic, like they're swooping back or something, you just have to be aware that that will impact depth. So I'm not sure for you detail phoners that he'll fit in unless you really compress the wings. And even for a Maja case, I'm not sure how much space he would actually take. All I know is that for me, I need to show him with those wings deployed. He just looks incredible, and he catches your eye. With Red Wing, he looks okay. I'm not sure if I want to show him like that, though. Red Wing looks nice, but might just be a little distracting. But again, that might depend on the pose and how I can get his flight pole to look. It does have a lot of flex, so I might just need to move him around a little bit. But seeing the figure fully loaded with the wings and with Sam holding the shield, I'm not gonna lie, the figure has skyrocketed to be one of the top figures in my MCU collection. Just visually, how can he not? Now, final pose here, I had to recreate one of my favorite moments from the comics, and it was from a Punisher story where he goes to DC to try and uncover some crazy corruption, and Captain America gets deployed to capture him, and they have this great fight including some awesome splash pages. And it also highlights how Frank honors the symbol that is Captain America, regardless of who's wearing the suit. So this is my MCU version of that with John Bernthal and Anthony Mackie, and while I hope to one day see that interaction on screen, at least being able to do this makes me happy in figure form. And final shot here is just an evolution of Sam Wilson. Now, I stupidly did not pick up the Falcon from Captain America Civil War. Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking, because I would have loved to have all three versions, but at least here I have that original, more military style look, which still looks incredible and has this final evolution. Seeing it looks incredible, and it's nice to see this final evolution from Sam starting as the Falcon to our new Captain America. So I will say this, in closing, Hot Toys has now given me two amazing figures in a row that just have completely floored me. The Carnage was incredible, and now that's followed by this Captain America figure. And when Hot Toys delivers, they deliver. Carnage was disgustingly beautiful. This figure is just a beauty, period. I filmed this over the course of like 2 days, and every time I walk by, I just have to stop and look at the piece. So I think that's just a sign of how awesome this turned out. So in case you hadn't noticed, this is a great figure. This is like a 5-star figure for me. Now, that was a quick look at our new Captain America by Hot Toys in 6-scale format. Let me know what you think about this figure, and as always, thank you for watching. And if you are enjoying the content, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing, and we'll touch base on the next video.